One-foot-flipper.
Hi everybody, how's it going? Paige here, the One Foot Flipper. Today we're going to talk about figuring out how much you're making per hour in various parts of your business. Because figuring out this out is very important, and it can let you know what things you're doing that are worth your time and what things you're doing that aren't worth your time. Today I'm specifically going to look at one lot of items that I purchased today, a lot of Traveler role-playing game books, and we're going to go over every minute spent on them and every minute that I expect to find on them, every dollar spent on them, every dollar I expect to spend on them, and then we're going to figure out what my hourly salary is going to be for dealing with these books right here. Now, since a lot of people know I'm a reseller, I get a lot of people sending me links all the time. In this case, my friend John Ceramic, he sent me this link that popped up on his Facebook feed on his phone. Turns out it was a 2-year-old link, but I decided to go ahead and message the person anyway. And what it was is the guy had a lot of Traveler role-playing game books for $100, and he had a second smaller lot that he'd listed for $50. Now, these are items in my specialty, and there were 38 books total between the lots. Quick, math thinking told me that that'd be about $4 per book. I didn't even have to go searching eBay or checking comps to know that I would buy at that price. Of course, I'd always like cheaper. I mean, I'd love to get $1 per book, but you can't always get that. It's okay. And on a big lot, I think the total amount of money you're making at the end is way more important than what you put in at the beginning. Anyway, so no checking comps. I just sent the guy a message, went to bed, came back in the morning, woke up, he had responded. We exchanged a couple messages. He accepted $125 for both lots together. Now, that's going to get my buy cost down to $3.28 per book, which is not bad. Even if they were all pretty much the worst role-playing game book in the world, I'd still break even at that. And since I know a little bit about what I'm doing here, I know that this lot isn't going to all be the worst role-playing game book in the world. Of course, I've still got to go get them. And in this case, the guy lived clear across town, so I've got a 50-mile round trip to pick him up, and that's going to be about $11 in gas. So we're going to count that $11. However, the $33.50 in mileage that the IRS is going to let me write off, in reality brings that numbers down quite a bit, because my real cost to drive is way lower than the 67 cents per mile the IRS allows. I don't drive new cars. I drive older vehicles that I buy in cash, so even if they don't get the greatest fuel economy, it doesn't matter, because I'm not spending a fortune on the purchase cost of the vehicle or on insurance for the vehicle. I haven't actually figured out what my exact cost to drive is, but it's always way less than the IRS amount. Went, picked up the items, no problem. Took just under an hour, and I went ahead and I listed all these bad boys using my general rule of having the cheapest one for condition. Now, each one of these is going to have to go out in a padded mailer. But in my case, my shipping rule for these sort of items already includes the cost of a padded mailer in there. So I don't have to calculate that padded mailer cost into my shipping when doing this. The customer's paying for it on the shipping end of things. It's not coming out of the buy cost of the item. And once I listed them all, I got $917 in listings. And being this is one of my deep specialties, I have a pretty good idea of what percentage I'm going to end up with of those, my actual initial listings. And I'm going to safely say that I'm going to get about 90% of my initial listed price on this stuff. That's about my average for role-playing game books. They rarely survive long in the store. Most of them sell at full price with no markdowns. And very few of them I need to sell on offers. So I'm not sending out offers on most of these. Most of these are just purchased by customers who pay full price, and most of my RPG books don't last through more than 1 or 2 markdowns. And that's what I'm expecting for these too. So that means I can expect to get $825 off of this stack of books, which is this big. Once I take and count eBay fees, I got $726 left. Now, there's no promotions in there. I don't need to promote this sort of item. There's never going to be more than 2 or 3 copies of Book 7 Traveler Merchant prints on eBay. the potential customer for this item is going to look at each listing anyway. So there's no reason for me to promote that item. In general, there's no reason to promote role-playing game book items anyway. Nerd gamers of the tabletop variety are notoriously cheap, even though they notoriously tend to have higher incomes. And they are going to search by price lowest first and buy the cheapest one that meets their needs. So overall, got $135 in on the item and gas. That's going to leave me with $591 in cash left, you know, that good old folding money, after everything is paid for. All right, let's look at the time spent involved in this. I took just a little under 1 hour on the pickup. I got them listed in just under 2 hours, because things like this are really easy to list when you use a document camera on your desktop. So you just stick it under there, take the picture, move along. Matter of fact, had these been trading cards, I could have done them in 1 hour, but I had a little more price research to do with these, a little more item details I wanted to get right and everything else. And in some cases, I was researching the exact printing I had, so that slowed me down from it being the easiest thing in the world. And also, if these things don't have barcodes, they're too old. And these are easy pull and shippers. These are 2-minute ship items. They just are. There's nothing to figure out there. They're media mail. They weigh under a pound. You're gonna weigh under a pound even if I got 5 of them. So I don't even have to weigh them in advance. I can just hit that print button, slap it in the padded envelope, and go. And so that leaves an hour. That's an hour and 15 minutes for shipping. I'm going to account for an hour for search and messaging time, because I can't just count the search and messaging time for this successful lot that I picked up. I've got to count all the losers, all the things I didn't buy, all the time I spent on Facebook Marketplace since I last purchased a lot. So we're going to count an hour for that. And I'm going to add 15 minutes for answering any questions that Timmy might send to me on eBay. So that means overall at the end, I'm going to have 5.5 hours total between finding out these items existed, finding these items, listing them, packing them, selling them. And that means my profit on these items is going to be $107.45 per hour. Not bad. I never got that in a day job. And I'm certainly not going to get that every day. Not going to get a lot like this every day. Not going to continually have a lot like that walking in the front door. Although it is possible to sculpture your business in such a way where you do continually get items like that walking through your front door, but it involves having a lot of capital available and being willing to lower your margins. Like, I know the people who will purchase very high-end collectibles and will pay 60% of market on things that are hundreds or thousands of dollars, and then they'll sell them on eBay at full market, but they paid 60% of market. And that's for people with heavy risk tolerances and heavy bank balances. But if you do that sort of business, you can make $100 an hour every day on it. Now let's turn around and say, what if I'd use my time in the worst possible way? What if I used each hour to list $25.99 trading cards in every hour and ship 5 of them? The reason I'm listing 25 and shipping 5 is that when you get down to your cheap cards, 80% of them never sell. They will still be in that store when your eBay store closes down and you're dead. They'll still be there. And let's pretend that these cards were all free and they took me 0 time to source. If I spent each hour doing that, I would have made $7.20 per hour. I chose cards there because I have already done those calculations on cards, and that's why I don't list $1.99 cards anymore. I still ship them out. I can ship them out. I can ship them out at over $20 an hour rate, which is why the store is still up, but that's why I'm not listing them. All right, it is Sunday afternoon. We've got some sales to go over. My wife took vacation this week. We didn't actually go on vacation anywhere, but it meant I got a lot less done than normal. Generally, the more between my wife and my daughter, the more they're there, the less work I get done. Dog never slows me down. She just sits on the cushion next to me and hangs out. Doesn't even want to play if nobody else is home. But if everybody else is home, then the dog wants to play. Then the dog wants me specifically to play with her. Don't understand that. Maybe it's just power play between her, my wife, and the daughter to show that she's important. I don't know. Either way, let's look at some sales. Sold this Game Informer magazine for $15.71. This particular issue had multiple different covers available, which is why it's so valuable. This is the Final Fantasy IV cover. I got this in a lot of magazines I paid $10 for at a garage sale where everything else was eBay price, except a lot of magazines. Armored Core 3 for the PlayStation 2, $31.50. Not bad. A lot of 13 different older science fiction paperbacks. These were personal items. I've either read all of these, or decided that I'm not going to read them, and thus it was time for them to go. Realized at this point, I'm not going to live forever. I'm no longer trying to reread books I've already read. No, I want to make new memories. I don't want to repeat my old ones. $12.70. Not bad. Throw two things on the ground right there. Maybe we'll cut this out. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll get real lucky and I'll fall out of the chair. It wouldn't be the first time that I fell out of this chair picking something up off the ground. All right, both items successfully were retrieved off of the ground. This one was a Honda Chilton's Guide to repairing the old Honda twin motorcycles from, I think, the early 70s or late 60s. $10.35. Probably would have went for more, except there are newer, more in-depth guides for those same bikes out there. Sold a couple of big jugs. Coleman Polylite ones. I put these together in the same listing. $14.10 plus shipping. That looks like it's going to be more than 1 cubic foot too. Hopefully it doesn't go far. Because, where are we at here? One of the last things left from my huge wargaming buy from 2.5 years ago is Vesda British Infantry, $3.37. Super Mario All-Stars and Super Mario Time Machine. Buyer sent me a message offering me 40 plus ship for the pair. Since that was only a little bit more than 10% off, which I would have sent anyway, I said, sure, I'll do it. Said, just buy them and I'll refund it down. And I did. I rolled over to get it, but then didn't get it because something happened. Forgot what it was. Robin Trower record, Long Misty Days, vinyl. I'll pop back in here and show myself holding it up. All right, sold this Robin Trower, Long Misty Days, LP, $5.38. And I sold this sealed Magic the Gathering Arch Enemy Nicol Bolas box set. Sold this on TCG Player for $110 shipped. On TCG Player, I don't use calculated shipping because that's on that particular website. That's just not how things are done. All right, this is a handmade item. A Magic the Gathering altered art card. This is a real Magic the Gathering card, but the entire front, except for the part where it says the card name, which is Mountain, has been covered over in white primer, and then the Arby's Meat Mountain has been drawn upon it. I drew this myself. I used to, at one point, like 8-9 years ago, I blanked, except for the title, a bunch of Magic lands, and I would just use markers and draw pictures on them when I was in tournaments and I had time in between rounds. And this one sold for $8.47. You ever sold your original artwork? Actually, I believe that's if it wasn't for the fact that I also already sold one previously, a different one for $2, I would say that would be checking something off my bucket list, selling original artwork, but I already did that. All right. The brand new Talisman board game expansion, the Cataclysm. Got this from a multi-item buy that is already paid for itself. 25 plus ship. I believe this accidentally had flat rate $6 shipping on it, but oh well. I decided not to change that from the various things because my flat rate $6 shipping was still only undercutting everybody else by $1, and Talisman's kind of thing doesn't sell well during the summer. People want to do outdoor things. They don't want to nerd out to really old board games. So I sold Alice Fairy Queen playmat for the Force of Will game to a repeat buyer, not a viewer, $7.38. That was my last one of those. At one point, I think I had about 20 of them. Not bad. My wife picked this at the Goodwill outlet. My wife, you know, not an expert picker or eBayer, found a book that sold in one day for $50. This is a Spade A pattern collection book. It shows the various patterns you could have ordered from Spade A back in the early 1960s. This particular hardcover one apparently is super duper 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 rare. I couldn't find any comps. All I could find is the smaller paperback versions of the individual chapters of this. And one day, $50. So yeah, I basically price guessed that. Oh look, I forgot to pull this item. I'm just going to go pull it and come right back. Oh, you can do like the other people do and you can actually come with me. Man, I feel like I'm somebody else's channel right now. Now, will I find it easily or not? All right, it's a hat. It's not that one. Looks like that one though. There we go. When I saw this one sell, I was like, no, the hat I just got that I've been wearing sold, because I got a big hat lot from Chernock's Connection the other day, and one of them that I've taken quite a liking to, and I've got that one up at like $35. But it looks very similar to this one at first glance, which I've had for a while. This one, Shamrock Building Supply Anderson, sold for $13.68. This being a hat that I didn't get from Chernock, I would have had $1 in this, because I rarely pay more than $1 for a hat unless it's super bling. Although I paid $3.90 for all the hats I got from Chernock, which is fine. A Dolphin Moon art print. I believe I got this at the Goodwill bins, $32.85. I got a lot of artwork at the Goodwill bins. I take a lot of stuff at the bins out of frames, because a lot of times there'll be big framed artwork up there, and I'm not going to sell it framed. I don't want to pay for that frame, so I take a lot of stuff out of the frames. Also, you know, it's going to cost 20 times as much if I get it in the frame. Crash Bandicoot Tag Team Racing for the PlayStation 2, $8.96. Alright, that's all the sales for now. Let's get back to the rest of the video. Alright, so determined here that the $1.99 car is not worth it for me. I think I'm worth more than $7.20 per hour. Let's go down, let's think about, though, right now I'm doing a bare minimum pretty much of $5 per item. I'm trying not to list anything under $5. If instead I'm stuck with items that are under $5, I'm lotting them up and trying to make larger amounts. But even then, it's still not that great. Say I've got a stack of dissimilar $5 items. I'm probably going to take 10 minutes per listing, because I've still got to price research each one of these items, and 5 minutes on shipping, because a lot of these items will require packing. They'll be longer to pull because they're not on a shelf, they're in a bin. Note, all of this is really my worst possible situation, but at that point I can only list and ship 4 of them per hour, and that's going to make me $16.40 an hour, which, well, that's less than I made at my last real full-time job, and I haven't worked a full-time job in 12 years. So that is definitely on the lowest of the low end of what I want to be making. Does that make any sense? Now, when you average those in, sure, it's fine when you average it in with the most expensive items, but if you're in a situation where you could also simply not pick that $5 item up in the first place, you might be better off just not picking that $5 item up in the first place. Let's go to the old calculator and do everything's the same, except it's a $10 item. You know what? I forgot one fact with the $5 item. Let's say we paid 50 cents for it. Suddenly, the $16.40 per hour goes down to like $14 per hour. Much worse. All right, $5 item, not working out for us, even if we can, or barely marginally working out for us. Let's do something more reasonable. A $10 item. We'll say you have a $1 items cost. Your bin's picking, and let's say you can source, list, and ship 4 of those per hour. Your profit per item would be $7.51, assuming normal eBay fees, no promotions, and your shipping charge is covering your supplies. And 4 of those per hour is $30 an hour. That's not bad. I never made $30 an hour. I didn't go to college. I didn't get into any of the good unions. $30 an hour is really more opportunity than I would have ever had in my life outside of eBay. So that's really not that bad. So maybe that's the minimum price point item I should be looking at picking up when I am picking up items one by one. Maybe I should leave those $5 ones there alone and look for the 10s. All right, I think that's I think that's about all I've got for today. If you know anybody who sells $5 items or $1.99 items, why don't you tell them about this channel? Because there's a lot of those people out there, and I'm getting closer and closer to catching old school picker and subs every week, and I'd love to do it. Thanks, and I hope to see you again soon.